Hi, this is Greg from Pensacola, Florida. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Today, we have a second Kickstarter from designer Askue, and this one is called Worlds Overrun Catalog 2. And so what I have down in front of me is a selection of models that I've test printed from the Kickstarter, and I thought it was going to be really good to get some of this stuff printed out and on the table so you can really see just how big some of these pieces are and just how awesome some of these designs are that Eric did. I've been getting files from Eric for about the last month on this and working on some test prints and us bouncing ideas back and forth. I did collaborate on this Kickstarter like I did on the first Kickstarter with him. And Eric has come up with some outstanding designs this time. So this Kickstarter is going to focus on two worlds. We're going to have an addition to the original Kickstarter, the Worlds Overrun 1 Kickstarter, which was thorn based, so your organic and aggressive and viney type areas and stuff like that. And then he's added a new world called Scorch, and this is kind of like a desert planet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Lazy Susan and put it on a table here, and then just put each piece on that. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll talk about some of the other pieces in the campaign and why this is probably going to be a really nice fit on your gaming table, because this terrain is super unique. He's a tremendous digital sculptor, and when you get this stuff out of the printer in front of you and you're like, wow, look at the size of this thing right here. You know, this is a foot by a foot before the edge pieces are on, and that'll look really great on your table. So let me get something in the middle so I can zoom in a little bit so you get a better look at some of this stuff. And I'll be right back, and we'll talk about what's on the table and about the rest of the stuff on the Kickstarter. I'll be right back. And the first piece we're going to look at, this is the Thorn Portal. This piece right here, it's a pretty big piece. And if you look at the front, you'll see those aggressive thorns, those spikes sticking off the front, almost like it's a mouth on there. And it has a pretty wide opening. This is a two-piece print. It prints without supports. I know you're looking at this and you're probably like, wow, it prints without supports. Well, there's a cut right here is where you're going to print these two pieces on there. So, and he has the spikes angled, so you don't need to put supports under them. And same with the back. I didn't use supports on any of this. And so just to give you size of a scale size reference, here's your Tyranid right there. That's up on the front, so you can see that. And then if you're a Space Marine guy, just to give you an idea of the scale. So this is what what it's going to look like on your tabletop if you're playing 40K, with your NID reference. And this really, if you did not see the Worlds Overrun Kickstarter, there is a pledge add-on to get it in addition to the new stuff that you're seeing here. And I'll flash pictures up because I'm going to use the Hive from the previous Kickstarter that attaches to one of the pieces here later on in the video. And so there'll be links to the Kickstarter and everything down below, in the show notes like usual. So definitely go ahead and hit that. But this piece printed great. I didn't have any trouble with this, with the overhangs or anything like that. And it just is a really awesome looking piece on there. So that is the Thorn Portal. The next thing we're going to look at is the Thorn Grinder. So let me move the... So right here, this is a big piece. I mean, you see how big this Lazy Susan is on here. So together, this is about 12 inches long. And so this prints in 6 pieces. I'm not sure, you can kind of see the lines where I have it glued together underneath. And just so you know, all the pieces that for the Worlds Overrun stuff, they use these pins, these glue pins that you print, and they come with the files and stuff like that you can that helps align all this stuff so you get good glue joints and things like that on it. But right here, this is the Thorn Grinder. So this is like a giant wheel, some type of biomechanical wheel coming out of the ground, and it's just chewing stuff up. I mean, this is a really nice piece. You'll see this is a little lighter on here. This is Maker Geeks and their color matching between their filament rolls, but it's fine. It shows off the detail we need to see. If you're wondering why this piece is lighter, it was off a new roll. But like I said, it's got 4 pieces of print. Again, no supports needed at all on here. And, you've got your there's your Tyranid again up front, you know, for scale reference on there, and your Space Marines, and they can stand right up on top of the terrain and stuff like that. Well, let's say you're not a 40K player, you're an RPG guy or a fantasy guy or something like that. Well, you know, for scale wise, these are Reaper RPG figures that I've painted up. And, you know, they sit right on this stuff fine. So, again, with the Thorn Portal and stuff like that, if you're running an RPG in some type of super heavy, aggressive vegetation world or something like that, especially, you know, the new sci-fi RPGs that are out, you know, that's all the rage right now, this is excellent terrain for that, too. So, instead of just using the Wet Erase mat, you know, you can get it on this Kickstarter pretty cheap. And if you have access to a printer, or you can find one of the licensed printers for this stuff and get it on your tabletop. So this is the Thorn Grinder. All right, the next piece I got up, this is part of the unchecked growth area, and this is too big for even the Lazy Susan I've got down here on the table. But this right here is one of these Kickstarter defining pieces. I mean, if you look at this, here, let me move this. I'm just gonna try and hold it in my, when you look at this with the ribs coming out of the ground, this coiled beast that, you know, decayed away, and now you've got this growth stuff coming out of it, you know, from this hostile world. You cannot not print this and put it on a game table somewhere and not have somebody go, oh my God, what is that? I mean, really, this right here out of the thorn part of this Kickstarter really is a defining piece of this set. There is nothing like this else out on the market, you know. So if you're looking at getting in on something like this, this is great. And what I'm putting up against to it, these are the new towers. So he's got 3 different heights of towers on, and they just plug in on this base. And what's neat with this is I'm going to go grab the Hive from the first Kickstarter, and I'm going to take some pictures of it. And I was setting this up to take a picture, you know, so I could add it to the video and stuff like this. And I was like, man, this stuff looks way too good just to put a single picture up. So what I wanted to show is this stuff here in the Urban Fossil color. This is from the first Worlds Overrun Kickstarter. This is the Thorn Hive, and these are the thorns I talked about earlier that are sticking up around it. And then this is from the new Kickstarter, and this is part of that unchecked growth, and it plugs right onto the side of it. And so this is what this piece is going to look like with one unchecked growth. It's set up so that you can put 3 of these around here, or 2 of them around it, or two unchecked growths around it, and then this giant half moon piece that I'll flash a picture up on. But I just really wanted you to see this really quick, you know, of just how awesome this would look on your tabletop. I mean, it really is a centerpiece piece of terrain on there, and this is what he's looking at going forward, using the assets from the first one, because you've already spent all this time printing this stuff and incorporating the assets from the new Kickstarter right here. And so these are those towers, and they all have slots that they plug right into on the back here. And if you see little gaps in these thorns, it's because I don't have them pinned together. I just pressed them together. I got them in the box. These are this is what I took, because I do have licensed printing rights for these, and so this is what I use to take my pictures and stuff like that for people that are purchasing a printed set. So this right here, you know, this is great stuff on there. So just to give you an idea of what the new Kickstarter Unchecked Growth hooked up to the old Thorn Hive is going to look like. And you can put 2 of those on there, 3 of those on there, and stuff like that. And in addition to the Hive, you know, the Hive is the basis for the Mega Maw from the first Kickstarter, which is another gigantic piece. And I'm not going to drag that whole thing out, but I will link to both those videos at the end of this video so you can check it out. Again, just pop it in here for a second. This piece is worth more than the pictures, so than just some pictures on there. I just wanted to talk about it, you know, and you know, levels of stuff that, yeah, I mean, this is so awesome. It really is. But you guys have a good day, and let's get back to the video of how this piece sits against the stuff from the old Kickstarter. And then he has, and I'll put the picture up, this unbelievable, it's almost a half moon piece that's gonna go on to the side. I mean, it's amazing. I haven't gotten the files for that yet. He said they're just about done if the weather holds out up there, because he's been getting killed because of snow and loss of power. So I should be getting those files like any minute now, and I'm really excited to test print that. So I'm going to work on the test prints. If you haven't followed me, I'll put a link to my Twitter down in the show notes. I don't spam tweet stuff on there, but what I do is I put up occasional pictures of stuff I'm working on for the videos. And so when I test print that, it'll definitely be up on my Twitter account. So if you'd like to follow me, the link's down below. Like I said, I just usually tweet out pictures of stuff that I'm working on, you know, for different videos and things like that. And so again, this is part of the unchecked growth. This thing is absolutely amazing. So talking about the towers, you know, so we got 3 different heights of towers right here. And what they do, this is a bunch of pieces. Let me pull this back over here. Yeah, this doesn't print. You're like, oh my God, that's not going to fit on my printer. Now everything has been cut to fit, and that's where I had super glue hit to fit on a 150 by 150 printer. So your 6" by 6" printer, you'll be able to print all this stuff. You know, these big rib pieces in the back here, they all glue on at the midpoints right here. You know, and there's, you know, this piece is only that big, and then the biggest piece is actually right here. So if you're worried about your printer bed size, as long as you're at the 150 by 150 minimum, you should be fine. The Thorn towers, I have 2 of them glued together and 1 that I did not glue together. So this is an example of how they look before you glue them together. So these are those pinholes I talked about, and you just put the peg in there, and then you put some glue on here and push it together, and you're good to go. And they print just like this. You know, Eric is great about cutting his files so you don't have to use supports. Because when him and I first started talking 9 months ago now, or you know, I think it's been about that long, my biggest thing is to make the file so you don't have to use support. If we don't have to yank support off them, that's cleanup we don't have to do. That's a potential failure point in the print. And so he's been great about that. I mean, he really is. So these pieces print flat just like this. And then you're like, wow, you know, so you could put these out, you know, even just like this randomly on your battlefield, and they're going to look great once they get painted up. Well, I said, hey, you know, I know these pieces go with the unchecked growth, that big piece over there. Can we get, you know, like we did with the thorns, they have the little base that go around them from the first Kickstarter, and picture will go up. Can we do the same thing here? And so what he did is he came up with this design right here. So these will sit just like this. So you've got this small rib section. You know, your guy is going to sit up on top of here. It can provide cover. You move this forward. There we go. You know, and stuff like that. So, I mean, isn't that all? Wouldn't you like to put about 6 or 7 of these on your tabletop out there? So not only, so this is that whole concept, and you'll see it in Scorch too, of there's some big pieces. It's going to be a commitment in printing time, but he's made it so that you can use this as you're printing. So if you print some of these, which are quick, you can do these in, you know, less than 24 hours. You can make this on your set because it's just 4 pieces. It's the then this is the medium tower I have on here, and so it's just 2 pieces of this split in half, and then the 2 rib pieces, and you glue them together. And so as you're printing the big unchecked growth pieces or this half moon tower and stuff like that, you can start rolling out these smaller pieces and add them right to your tabletop immediately. And again, it's just not for 40K. If you're an RPG guy and you're running a sci-fi campaign or something like that, this is great. If you're an RPG guy running a fantasy-based campaign, this stuff fits right in there too. Almost anything in this campaign will fit equally within sci-fi and fantasy. If you remember the old, from back in the day, my favorite RPG series ever was the S series. You know, and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, where you find that lost spaceship and stuff like that on the ground, it was one of my all-time favorites. You know, it was just really neat. It was unique for the time and things like that, so it was really good. Next thing we got here are the Thorn Crawlers. I printed out a couple of them. There's I think there's 3 designs, maybe 4, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. And these print up super quick. We've modified the design a little bit so it doesn't need support on there. And these all print as 1 piece. And these look really good. So if you're looking for a trench or something like that, so this is like an organic trench. So your guys can sit right in here. And these are 32 mil bases that are going inside there. You know, your fantasy guys are over on this side. And they all fit in. You know, there's really there's no issue. So they'll provide cover. They'll provide, this could be a trap you need to navigate in your fantasy RPG. On 40K, you'll get some cover while your guys are in this organic type trench. So it's really neat. It's different. It's just not your stone wall type trench or sandbag trench enforcement and stuff like that you see on there. So really neat stuff. Again, these are the thorn crawlers. And like I said, there's one more design on here I know of for a fact. I just didn't get around to print it. And all the prints that you see in front of me, this is in the Maker Geeks Gray Matter Gray. It's really more of a black gray on because this isn't really gray to me. But it prints up good. These are all done in the Maker Gear M2 and M3, everything you see on the table here. So, all right, so that, I'm going to pop up some more pictures of the campaign, especially that Half Moon piece, and then we'll come back and I'll show what the unchecked growth looks like against the Thorn Hive from the first Kickstarter. And so this brings us to the new area of the campaign, and it's called Scorch. What Scorch is, it's a desert type world. It can be sci-fi, it can be ancient relic, Stargate-esque type world. And what Eric has done is he's taking these tiles, instead of using little 2x2 tiles and putting 100 of them together to make a board, he's taken the open lock system and moved it into a 150 by 150 on there. So what you have in front of you, this giant piece right here, is 1 foot square, and I have the edge pieces around 3 of the sides, and we'll talk about that too. And so this is really, really big. I mean, there is a ton of tiles that you're going to get from this. And so you've got your Scorched shield wall, and I'm going to, again, pictures will be popping up from the campaign because I've printed this stuff out here, and I've got one other piece that I've printed out. And so I'll show that off really quick, and then I'll do some talking and showing the pictures. But this is a great piece. I mean, this is really good. He's worked on this sand, this kind of running sand texture that's on here. So when you get these pieces, let's say if you want to texture this piece, you're basically spraying scenic cement over this and then throwing your flock down on it, and you're done. You don't have to try and put these lines in the sand. They're already there. That sand's going to fall right down into these holes. It'll go around these rocks and stuff like that. So this is going to look great. He made this system so you can cover your entire 6-inch by 4-inch table with, this right here. If you wanted to click together open lock wise this all together and cover your whole 6x4 table, you can do that. If you want to do a 3x3 table, you can do that too. If you're running an RPG campaign and you want to cover a 4x8 with this type of terrain, that's doable. But one of the things we talked about is these tiles do take a while to print, so we want to get it to the table so you can use it as you're building out your collection of tiles. So if this tile here takes 30 hours, this tile on the back with the tall spear, if this tile back here takes 30 hours to print, well, if you have one printer, you're going to be investing a lot of print time into these. So what he's done is he's made the tiles, and then he's made these edge pieces that go around. And so he's made all the combination of edge pieces you need, whether you want to put them around a single tile, or if you want to put them around a 4x6 table, or if you want to do like I did right here and make a 1 foot by 1 foot square and then put the edges around. So if you look in the back, you'll see how the open lock things are right there. And what I did is I counted, you see the little support lines that go down. I counted over 2 and then clipped, over 2, then clipped, and over 2, then clipped. So it has 3 clips per tile, just like that. And I got the orange ones in the middle, and I put the black ones on the outside because that's thin. And I had originally done all orange to see it, but it showed, because these pieces are thin on the edge, you kind of want to do those outside tiles, unless you're going to paint it, then it doesn't matter. You want to do those outside tiles in the same color as your things right here, but it costs less than a penny to print an open lock clip. So whatever you want to do, I mean, it's up to you. I was showing you just a couple different styles of the clips. And so again, this fits in your 150 by 150 by 150, and back here, this part right here comes off. So this is flat, and this design with the 4 pins, spaced out like that. That is a carryover from Worlds Overrun 1. And what that allows you is that in future campaigns, Eric is going to make feature items that can add on to these points. So just like the gun turrets from Worlds Overrun 1, you could kind of put one of those turrets up here, but it's just kind of future proofs what's going on. I mean, you can glue that piece down and never worry about it again, or you can leave it like I did and just put the pins in and then take it off when an expansion comes out or something like that on the next Kickstarter and put it right there on top of it, so I'm interested to see what Eric comes out with like that. But this stuff is great. I mean, just to give you an idea, that's the NID sitting right there in the middle. That's a big 50 millimeter base. Here's your RPG guys, standing on here. So they're all looking good. Sitting up on here again, dual purpose. This campaign, really, I know some people are like, oh, it's all 40K. Both these worlds work equally well for fantasy. I mean, it's desert. It's your Dune-esque terrain. If you RPG in the Dune worlds or something like that, this is great for that too. So it's really good. So this is Scorch, and this is an example of one of the pieces. And again, you're looking, I have the 40, the flat and 45s right here. He has, okay, I need to find my bag. And so if you're doing just one 50 millimeter by 50 millimeter tile, he has you'd print 4 of these and put it around it, like that, and it's ready for the tabletop. So you could print 2, 3 of these, and like I do, I have a brown felt. It's a light tan felt that I use for my North Africa World War II stuff. And so I would print some of this stuff. I would put this around it so that brings it down to the tabletop, and you don't have the open lock edge showing. And just make 4 or 5 of them, put them around, and then the next time you get around to, you got a block of print time you want to invest into this Kickstarter, you start it up and then you start doing these type connectors. Let's say you do the giant 4x6. Well, you got the straight connector so that you can do that middle piece or those middle pieces as they go along. So he's already thought ahead. We've gone over the combinations that you can do, single tile, multi-tile, huge tiles out there. And so you'll have the appropriate edges that you can put down. So really, really good stuff. Let's see. Let me move this out of the way. And this right here is the last piece I have printed. Again, this is from your Scorched World also. But this is this right here is going to be your spires. So we got ruined spires and fallen spires and spires that are completely intact and stuff like that. And so if you look at that design on there, I really liked. He had this design on one of the warp gates that he was kind of playing around with. I said, oh man, that design looks great. Carry that design through. And so he did. He went through and put it on these obelisks and stuff like that. So this is really good. And again, this is 150 millimeter by 150 millimeter. It's open lock, and I printed that on the Maker Gear M3. And how you like that first layer on there from that printer? It does a fantastic job. It really does. And it's a great print. So he has other stuff out there too. He's got this Scorch shield wall, or the Tours of Scorch. That's where this stuff is coming from right here. And I'm going to talk now and just pop pictures up from the campaign page. So you're going to get all these different blocks and stuff like that, and they're all on 150 millimeter tiles. Then you're going to have a Scorch shield wall. It's so vast and geologically rich, these stone cliffs only hint at what lies beneath the sands. So it's really neat. So you can get this whole wall of stone formation and things like that. From this giant 12 by 12 piece that I had earlier down, that's from your Scorch Barons? Yeah, that's the Scorch Barons. I got a cheat sheet in front of me here so I can keep track of what's what. So this is your Scorch Barons. It's just your raw desert, with some earth and stuff like that. And then you got your desolate expanses, which are just going to be your basically rolling sand dunes and stuff like that. So again, you know, sci-fi campaign, RPG campaign. If you're a World War II guy, you play Flames of War, there is nothing saying that you cannot take this, put it together, make yourself a table or make yourself some pieces on this and use it in your 15 millimeter gaming. You know, a giant rock coming out of the ground doesn't have to be X amount of height for 15 mil. Yeah, they're going to be giant rocks, but even if you do the Desolate Expanse, that's just rolling sand dunes on there. It doesn't care what scale vehicle you have on top of it. So really, really, really good stuff. And then he's also made some end caps, and these are going to be nice. And so when you look at this as a whole, there's a lot of printing that's going to go into the tabletop on the Scorched World, but it is real, you know, it's right here. I mean, this stuff is great, and he's thought ahead. He's allowed those edge pieces on there, which I think really makes all the difference on this, because now you can print and use your terrain as you go along, and it's going to look good. You won't have those open lock windows on the side. He's got things that take it right down to the table, and so this is nice. I mean, I get to see this being developed for the last few months and things like that, so I was pretty excited to get it. We talked about, you know, that the larger pieces require more print time, and so we came up with the idea of the edges on here, and that sealed the deal on the whole Scorch thing. It really does. And back to the, you know, the Thorn on there. I'll pop some pictures up here of this attached to it. And if you missed the first Kickstarter, I know I've really picked up a lot of subscribers since the last Kickstarter. If you missed the first Worlds Overrun Kickstarter, I'll post a link to that too, where you can see some of the pictures. I'll also post, I think I have 2 videos from the first Kickstarter that show the Thorn Hive and the Mega Maw. Really give yourself a favor and watch those too. But this campaign is going on. It's a short campaign. It's 15 days total. I think it has 12 days left as of today. So he runs shorter campaigns, and the reason being is these assets are created. He's not doing a ton of stretch goals, which are going to roll out, you know, for month after month. We're trying to design the stuff. I think that was the lessons learned from the first one, is develop your assets, get it out there, offer a couple extras here and there, deliver the content when the campaign is over, and let's move right into the next one on there. So, you know, I love working with Eric. The guy's great. He's up north. It's funny. He's always bundled up because we get on Hangouts all the time at night. He's all bundled up there in Connecticut, freezing. I'm down here with my AC on in February in Florida. So it's funny, but he is really a great guy. He talked about doing a live build of him designing an asset for this. So definitely go to the Kickstarter page and see when that is scheduled. If the campaign's over, obviously you're going to miss it, but I think this is something I'm going to ask him to do too, you know, as he goes on. Because if you've never seen a ZBrush sculptor that is really good work inside that program, I mean, somebody who's been there since the beginning, somebody who taught at Full Sail University, and if you know what that is, they are a film, video, and art college, private college. It's expensive, but you know, EA hires out of there, Weta hires out of there, you know, so he was an instructor down there. But to watch somebody who doesn't have to, where the software becomes an extension of him, you know, he doesn't use the software, and he doesn't have to think about what he's doing in the software. It's just being used, and he sculpts and he sketches. I love watching him work. And so he was going to bring up and to use to do part of an asset online and allow the backers to come in. So if you'd like to be part of that, join the campaign, go ahead and back. I'm not sure when he's scheduled that yet. I'll hit him on chat after I finish recording this, and make sure he knows that I said this in the Kickstarter. So, but it's really good stuff. So the campaign's funded, the assets are here. I know he was tidying up just 1 or 2 other pieces on there. And follow my Twitter. Link will be down below. Like I said, I don't spam. I don't post, but I just like gaming stuff. So every tweet that I get is gaming related. It's something cool, you know, usually out there, and it's good. So my dog is scratching at the window, wondering why he can't come in. And Worlds Overrun 2, yeah, it's right here. Go ahead. Links down below to the campaign. Come on and join us. You're going to blow your friends away when you put this on tabletop. Have a good night, and I'll see you in the next video.